First time, I left the country for a whole month. I did not tell my team that they can call me if something goes wrong. I actually told them that I would not be answering if they did. And then I took my kids and got on a plane for Europe. For the first 3 days, I kept reaching for my phone, not because something was wrong, because reaching for the phone was a habit, a reflex of a person who has spent 25 years being accessible. But by the second week, I actually put the phone down several hours and forgot about it. Nobody called, nothing had burned down, the programs ran, the people we served got served. And as I was sitting at a local cafe drinking coffee, I felt something that should have been a relief, but it wasn't a relief. And here's a thing that nobody tells you about building a team that does not need you. When you finally get it, you have to answer a question that you probably spend your entire career avoiding. If they can do it without you, then what are you actually for? And I want to be honest with you about that moment, because I think a lot of leaders feel it and actually never say it out loud. For most of my life, my value and my usefulness were the same thing. I was the person who held it together, who put out the fires, who stayed up late, who knew where everything was, and who made the final call. That was not just my job. Somewhere along the way, it became who I thought I was. It became my identity. So when the calls stopped coming, the first feeling was not freedom. It was actually fear. And it took me a while to understand why. Being needed and being valuable are two completely different things. I had spent decades treating them like they were the same. There was a version of me a long time ago whose phone never stopped. Every decision came to me, every approval ran through me. I would come back from a long weekend to hundreds of things that simply paused because I wasn't there to address them. And I told myself that was commitment, there was dedication. I told myself it was a good leadership, but it wasn't a leadership. It was a bottleneck. So here is what I understand now after running federal programs across multiple agencies, after years of nonprofit operations, and after building my own business on the same idea. My value is not being the most essential person in the room. My value is actually building a room that will not collapse when I leave. And that's the whole shift. And almost nobody makes it, because the kind of leadership most of us were learned reward quite the opposite. It rewards a person who's always there, who's always accessible, who's always available, always has the answer. We call that dedication. And a lot of times it's just a bottleneck that we decided to be proud of. So what actually makes a team run without you? And it's not luck. It's not a room full of unicorns. And it's definitely not hiring people who never make mistakes. It's a design. And after leading teams for more than 25 years, both in the corporate world and in the nonprofit sector, I've learned that self-led teams are built, not found. And the difference comes down to only three things. First is decision making. In most organizations, decisions go up to the leader and then go back down again. Every question, every approval, every exception lands on the leader's desk. It feels responsible, it feels necessary, but it creates a bottleneck. You become the speed limit for your entire team. Self-led teams are built differently. The people closest to the decisions closest to the work own the decision that belongs to them. There is clarity around what they can decide independently, what requires collaboration, and what actually truly needs leadership involvement. And after you start paying attention, you realize something really important. Most of the decisions that land on your desk don't actually require your expertise. They arrive out of habit and not necessity. Now, number 2 is communication. If your team needs you for in every conversation to create clarity, you are not leading the team. You are the switchboard. And information should not have to pass through you to reach the people who truly need it. Strong teams create their own communication rhythm. They solve problems together. They clarify the expectations with one another. And the flow information lives inside the team and not in your inbox. And finally, number 3 is accountability. Most leaders spend too much time chasing it. They follow up, they check in, they remind people, then remind them again. Real accountability is not something you enforce from the top. It's something you build into the way the team operates. People take ownership because the work belongs to them, not because someone is watching. So that's the shift. When decisions are pushed to the right level, communication flows without you, and accountability is owned versus chased. At that moment, the teams stops depending on you for every decision. And that's when you finally stop managing and start leading. And today, I'm not going to hand you all 3 today because you would close this video and do absolutely nothing. So here's one thing that I want you to do today, and it only takes 10 minutes. Write down every decision that came to you in the last 7 days. Every approval, can you just look at this, what you want me to do with it, and put it on a piece of paper. Then go down the list and check off every single one of those items that actually did not need your expertise, that didn't require your involvement. Be honest about it. Most leaders realize that half of the items on the list never needed to land on their desk. Then pick one, just one, and write a single sentence that lets someone else make the decision next time and without you. A rule, a threshold, something like you decide anything under this amount. One sentence. That's it. And the task, not a task that you just hand off and it comes back next time. It's a decision that you will never ever have to make again. And I know how this sounds to a busy leader who's buried right now. When you are the one holding everything, stepping back feels irresponsible and feels reckless. But I want to leave you with one question that changed it for me as I was sitting at the local cafe drinking coffee. If your business, if your program cannot survive a week without you, this is not a sign how dedicated you are. It's a design flaw. And the strange and freeing thing about design flaw is that it's not a verdict on you. It's just something that you haven't built yet. So if that question resonates with you and you're not sure if your team would survive a week without you test, I built something to measure it. It's a very simple self-led team diagnostics that will show you honestly where your team runs on you and where it runs without you. The link is in the description below, so start there. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.